Hi there and welcome to Two Wheels, the show that brings you the very best in motorcycling, where today I left London on what turns out to have become the hottest day of the year in my shorts to come up here to soggy Silsden, where we're under approximately 200 feet of water by the looks of it. Why? It'll all become clear in just a minute. This week on the show, it's time for us to enter a world where going slow is the new going fast, where riding across things that you and I would struggle to walk across is the norm, and a world where whatever you do, you don't put your feet down. Yep, we're talking about trials riding. Now, if you're anything like me, then your experience of trials probably stretches about as far as watching Kickstart as a kid on the telly and no further. So we're here in West Yorkshire to find out a whole lot more. Why Silsden? Because it's home to Dougie Lamkin and his dyed-in-the-wool trials riding family. In case you've been living in a cave or under a rock for the last decade, Dougie Lamkin, that's Dougie Lamkin MBE to you, is the most successful Brit bike sport export in the world. And with the weather as bad as it was outside, we were both glad of the chance not to have to go and ride just yet, and instead to cool our heels and have a chat about Dougie's career today. So before we go any further, Dougie, let's just get one thing straight. You are 11 times World Trials Champion.
Yes.
And how do you stay motivated for 11 championships and to still be challenging for one this year?
Well, basically I still love riding trials as much as when I was a kid, just riding for fun.
Yeah.
I realised my lifetime ambition of being world champion at an early age, so just taking it from there really, and the motivation's never been a problem so far, and it still isn't now.
How early was it when you took that first title?
First world championship was at 21.
And how did you feel? 21, on top of the world, achieved everything in trials, whole life ahead of you.
Yeah, I mean, I achieved it. It felt absolutely fantastic. It's something that any sportsman wants to be the best there is, and it just snowballed really. I wanted to continue, obviously got the feeling for it and didn't want to give it away.
Well, what we're going to be doing today, a bit later, I'm going to go and have a go on the bikes. Do you think you're going to be able to teach me anything? Am I going to hate it? Am I going to spend the day on my face? What are we looking for?
Hopefully we're just looking to keep you on two wheels on the first day. Obviously you've ridden a lot of bikes before. It is very different, these trials, and it's either make or break. We can't teach you to be world champion in a day, but just basically get you riding and show you a few of the basic techniques. Hopefully get into a few sections and see what we can do. Okay. Well, let's hope it's more make than break out there for me today. In the meantime, here's Fran.
Just met your dream partner? Have all your prayers finally been answered? Out of the gloom has a vision of perfection appeared showing you the light? Well, that's nice, but don't let that new motorbike you're lusting after get you too carried away. You still need to keep your brain in sensible mode for a little while yet. Let me and the Two Wheels team explain. Buying a new motorbike is a big investment, and as with any purchase involving large sums of money, you need to know what you're doing is the right thing, that you're buying a quality item, and that you're not getting ripped off. Hi Duncan.
Hi Fran.
You all right?
Yeah, fine, thanks.
Say I've seen a bike on your website, but I'm not, I mean the bike looks great, but I don't know what to look for when I come in and have a look at the bike. What do I do then? Yeah,
we'll pull the bike out of the lineup, take you all around the bike, show you if there's any marks on it. This is one thing with the dealers now, they won't try and hide anything from the customers.
Right. Well, you just have to come in knocking on your door going, excuse me, you sold me this bike. Yeah.
And so we go through the bike with the customer and sit them on it to make sure that they can fit on it and everything like that.
Brilliant. So are you going to show me now then a few things I should be looking for when I go into these showrooms?
Yeah, certainly will do.
I want to be very wise by the time I leave here.
Okay.
Okay, let's go. Right, Duncan, this is the R6 I've seen.
Right.
It looks fantastic, but what should I look out for?
Telltale signs, obviously, wear and tear, rust.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people still use the bikes during the winter months when the weather's fine. But with the salt being on the road, if you wash them when you get home with warm water, it will react with the salt. They should always be washed in cold water.
Oh, right.
Otherwise it helps build up the rusting quicker on the vehicle. So,
right, so where would the signs be then for that?
Generally down on calipers, up the front of the bike, and also on the foot peg hangers.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you will find white furring appear on the hangers.
Yeah. Oh,
so those are little telltale sort of signs that generally, if they're looking like they are on this bike, it's been well looked after.
Right, okay, so now bodywork. That must be a big thing, little telltale signs of a
Telltale
drop.
signs, obviously people do drop them when they're on the side stands. Little accidents do happen, as they say.
I don't.
But generally, signs you can tell whether bikes have been plastic welded. If you can see down inside the back of the fairing,
Yeah.
just to try and have a look, because you will see the welds.
Right.
But generally, you can tell if it's two-tone paint, something might have happened there.
Okay. And so now on the exhaust, is that there's gonna be scuffs obviously on there?
Yeah, if somebody has departed from the bike, you'll find chamfering on the corner of the pipe there, and also towards the ends.
Right.
And also other signs, the pegs on the bottom of the foot pegs will be worn away.
Right. Okay.
So
I mean,
there's telltale signs that, you know, it's been over on the road.
there's a couple of little marks on that exhaust, but that's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, nothing wrong with that at all. Looks like he's caught it on a garage door or gate post.
Yeah. Fine. So now engines and brakes and things.
Yeah.
How do I spot?
Obviously, the layman can't tell. They can listen to the engine, say, yes, that sounds fine, but we put them all through the workshop, so if anything's required, obviously we do new oil filters, brake pads if required,
Yeah.
tyres if they're required.
Right.
So
a reputable dealer would service it for you.
service it all before it goes out.
Now you bring me on to tyres there.
Right.
So tyres, what do we look for? Because obviously that's a key point,
Yeah,
isn't it?
obviously to look for signs of wear in either side, which
Yeah.
means the tyre's been run underinflated, or if it's really worn in the middle, there are wear bands that come in the centre tread.
Right.
If it's down to those, the tyre needs replacing.
Right, and a reputable
Same for
dealer.
the rear as well.
Right.
Sorry.
They would replace it.
Yes.
Right, brilliant. Now aftermarket products.
Yeah.
This is aftermarket, isn't it?
Aftermarket, no problem with the local policeman. He will not stop you for that.
Perfectly legal.
Perfectly legal.
Right.
Perfectly legal NCAN on this vehicle.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just go behind us, the Warrior,
Yeah.
totally straight through pipes.
Yeah.
Obviously illegal pipes if you took it for an MOT.
Right, okay. So what happens there then? Would you sell that bike like that?
We put these standard pipes back on it.
Yeah.
And then if the new customer wanted the aftermarket pipes, we would give them with the bike, and it's up to his discretion whether he uses them
Whether
or
he's
not.
illegal or not.
Yeah. But obviously with those pipes, the police will stop you.
Okay, so if you come in here and you were to see that bike and you wanted to buy it like that, you know, a reputable dealer would tell you that they were illegal and put the standard ones on.
We've got the standard pipes with it. So most dealers, when they take a second-hand bike in, if it's got aftermarket pipes, they will have the standard ones.
Right.
Yep.
Brilliant. Good advice, Duncan. Thank you very much. Ooh, dodgy dealers beware, because we're all going to be so clued up at the end of this. But that's it for part one. See us in part two, when we'll give you loads more information.
Well, as you can see, I'm now looking the part. I've got the bike, I've got the gear. I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. Fortunately, this man here knows more than enough for all of us. So, before we set off, what are the basic pointers to riding one of these, Dougie?
Well, they're quite a bit different to what you've ridden before. Obviously, you've sat down on everything on road bikes.
I feel like
you
I'm
never
sat
sit
on the
down
floor
on
here.
this. No, you never sit down on this. That's why we have no seat. And just basically be really gentle with, especially the clutch and the throttle.
Yeah.
You need very little. Obviously, a complete contrast to what you're used to. Gentle on the brakes. Obviously, we're in slippy conditions on the grass, and take it easy to start with.
Well, that's sounding simple enough, we would hope, but we'll see how we go in reality. Also, I'm wearing, as you can see, some very protective lightweight shirts. There's a teeny bit of padding in my knees, and even these boots are quite soft, so I can move my ankles around on the gears and the brakes. But enough of the technical already. Let's go and see how we do.
Ready?
Yeah? Give it a shot. And off we set, Dougie on his full competition bike, all the way from HRC, every single bit handmade, deep in a laboratory somewhere in Japan. You couldn't even put a price on this stuff because it ain't for sale. However, the bike I was on looked exactly the same because it is the replica version that you buy in the shops. Almost the same bike, but not quite. 3.5 grand, brand new to you and me. The thing only weighs 70 kilos. The tyres are nearly flat because that's how trials riders run them for extra grip. The thing comes up to about my ankles as I was stood on it. The brakes are completely sharp. The two-stroke 250 motor pulls from nowhere, and the whole thing is absolutely hilarious. After spending a little time with Dougie hopping up and down this hill, there's something I've realised I really can't do. Tight turns. He just puts it on full lock and pretty much rides the bike around the back wheel. Totally balanced, totally controlled. I've been struggling, I don't know what to do with the clutch or the throttle. So, now it's back to basics. I'm going to see if I can do these clever little turns. So it's just on the bike
on both, and then just keep the same speed.
Right.
So you're not on and off the clutch or the throttle.
That's where I'm losing it.
Take it wide to start off with and then work in tighter.
All right.
Don't try and go straight to... Get that little bit of momentum going.
Well, how am I doing?
Not bad at all. Fairly impressive to be honest. A little bit of sweat creeping in there.
Just a little.
Bit
I'm
of
getting more.
arm pump.
Yeah, that's up. I tell you what, your arm's getting knackered, don't they? Or is that because I'm doing it wrong?
No, that could be. One of the main things is on a trials bike, you want to hold it nice and loose.
Right.
As if like you're just gripping it.
Yeah.
What tends to happen is people get on it and sort of tense up straight away, and then that's arm pump, sweating as we can see. And...
But how do you manage to keep your arms loose when you've got all your weight through them coming down hills like that?
It's just practice really.
Yeah.
I mean, in theory, everything's working well. Your body position's good on the bike pretty much immediately. You want to be off the brakes as much as possible as well, obviously on the grass and things like that. We've had a good little roll around. We're getting close to making a section, I think, now.
So what's next then?
I think we'll make a section and put you through your paces. It's always a lot different when there's flags in. It's a lot
Pressure
different.
on, and what's that a question of just not putting my feet down?
Exactly. Not putting your feet down. Obviously a foot down's a penalty every time you do it. A fall off or stall the bike's 5 points the maximum, and feet up all the way through to the ends is clean. And let's go.
I don't think it's going to be clean.
I've
been off once already. I think there's plenty more to come. I'm still trying to get my head around this. I've got Dougie Lamkin, 11 times world trials champion, teaching me the basics of trial riding. This is like having Michael Schumacher take you for your driving test. Anyway, I'm going to be having a load more tuition coming up in part 2, while Dougie is going to be showing us how it's really done. Fran will be back and we'll have the head-to-head. See you in a mo. Welcome back to Two Wheels, where I'm still trials riding with 11 times world champion Dougie Lamkin. But before we get back to that, here's the head-to-head. Each week we take 2 bikes, 100 bikers, and from their feedback, we determine a winner. With vast amounts of racing heritage to build on, both these machines are big contenders for the Italian Stallion crown. The Ducati 999 is a complete redesign as far as the bike is concerned. Only the engine carries over from the old 998 it replaces. The Mille is also another cracking big twin. The Aprilia has power and torque at the ready and is responsive and smooth. The 999 has broken the mould for Ducati and still has a very unique image, but it is splitting opinions somewhat. On whether those angular looks are going to become a classic like its predecessor, well, only time will tell. As for the Aprilia, that's got a fairly unique look as well. You're either going to love it or loathe it. Again, like the Ducati, very angular, but if it floats your boat, it is a good looking thing. How can you decide between these two works of Italian art? The growl of the Mille, or the roar of the Ducati, or the racing pedigree of both? It's just too much. Choose one and you'll always wonder about the other. People, it's over to you.
The 999 versus the Aprilia. I think, to be honest, there's not much between them, but I'd go for the Aprilia because I find it a bit more comfortable. It's a bigger bike and I'm fairly tall, so that's helped. The 999 is not as nice looking as its predecessor, and I just find it a bit rattly and uncomfortable.
The 999 versus the Mille I'd have to go for the Ducati. The Mille is a bit too big and a bit too much power for my liking, but the new Ducati looks awesome, sounds awesome, but you've got to be careful of that hot exhaust. Definitely the 999.
And will you look at that, it seems Ducati may have dropped a bit of a clanger in your eyes with the 999 because it only gets 35%, which leaves the Aprilia romping happily into the lead with 65. So there you have it, another close head-to-head. But back on the trials scene, Dougie is now setting out a proper course for me, because after all, that's what trials is all about. Can you get around without putting your foot down? I'm about to find out. Now suddenly things were getting a little bit difficult. The deal with these trial sections is exactly as you would find it in a competition situation. So you've got to keep the red flags on your right, the blue flags on your left, and you ride round the course that's set out. Doesn't sound particularly difficult, and we weren't doing anything that I hadn't done already. But now I had to watch where I was going. I couldn't ride all over the hillside willy-nilly, which means things suddenly became rather tricky. I found myself missing flags and dropping out of the course all over the shop. But when I finally did manage a clean section, very satisfying. Well, there you have it, a clean section. Didn't put my foot down once, apart from on the first 2 times I tried it, that was. Anyway, I'm made up. I've had a laugh. I got a round of applause off the world champion. We're going to do some more difficult things later, but now, here's Fran.
Right, Duncan. I'm a 17-year-old. I want a 125 to do my CBT.
Right.
But obviously a bike like this, another learner will have had it.
Correct.
So what do I look out for?
Yeah, telltale signs, what sort of rider they've been. Look for scuffs on indicators, foot pegs, levers, handlebars and mirrors.
Right.
All telltale signs, what sort of rider they've been, whether they fell off it once or twice or
Whether
not.
they've actually passed the test or not now. Right, OK, that's that one. We're back to the R6.
Yes.
On a sports bike then, what do we look for?
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, marks on can, telltale signs that it's been abused, foot pegs will be scuffed and also panels.
Right. Oh, you said about the welding and stuff like that.
Welding underneath.
So what about how, you know, the kind of things that you can see if it's been on a track day maybe?
Track day, generally tyre wear, obviously it'll be used more on the outside of the tyre than the inside because the bend's sweeping round.
Right. We wish. I've never been that far over myself. Right, enduro bikes.
Yeah, dual purpose bike, used as a town urban bike or off-road.
Right.
Telltale signs whether it's been used off-road and whether it's been cleaned properly. Mud accumulating in various places where they haven't got the hose pipes.
Right, OK. And I suppose the engine gets some stones and
engine will
battery.
get stone chips, but down on the engine there's a good sump guard which will protect it if it goes off-road from hitting any boulders.
OK, so look for mud on these then basically. Right, well now the bike's sorted, we need to go and do some paperwork.
See you now. Bye.
Right then, Duncan. We need some paperwork.
Paperwork. Right, there's numerous bits of paperwork to go for.
Yeah.
First of all, V5 from Swansea. Tells you how many owners they've been on the logbook, the last owner and previous owner.
Right.
Date of registration and VIN number and engine number.
Right.
These, you can ask the dealers for these to check against the bike you're purchasing.
Yeah.
And obviously they should correspond identical.
Right.
And one of these must be had by the customer, otherwise do not buy the bike.
Right. So this is a logbook.
Logbook.
Right. Brilliant. Next one.
Next one, HPI, which every dealer should do to check whether the bike's been stolen, written off at any time, had an accident, or finance owned on the machine.
Right.
Because obviously finance owing on the machine, if they want to come and get it back off you, because you're not the legal owner of it, the finance company are.
Of course. And of course this would probably show up if it was a parallel import as well.
Yes, it certainly would.
Right. OK. Next up.
MOTs. Obviously great if you've got every MOT from when the bike was done.
Yep.
Because it always gives you the mileage for every year.
Right.
So you can correspond the mileage with a bike and say it's done 2,000 a year or whatever. Legal document again from government MOT's testing stations.
So
must be needed to tax the bike.
Genuine there, right?
Yep. And last but not least, servicing book. Always supplied at new when you buy a new bike, and should be stamped by a dealer to prove that it's been done.
Right. What if somebody serviced it themselves?
Generally, a lot of people will write in the service book themselves what they've done, what oil they've fitted, and oil filters.
And have the receipts and things
have the receipts to prove that it's all been done.
OK, that's marvellous.
Which is great.
Well, that's some fantastic information.
Thank you.
I'm very, very knowledgeable now. There's no flies on me, as they would say, or at least not until I get out there anyway.
He seems to be getting a bit cocky, does Wazza, so we're just going to knock him down a peg or two. It's getting far too good for our liking. So we've got basically a double hill. I think we're going to be unlucky if he doesn't loop it out, but it is quite slippery, so you never know. A bit of lucky won't get it first time. I'm just going to have a couple of runs through him just to show him how it's done, and then we'll leave it to him.
Well, it sounds as if our Mr. Lamkin here is trying to set me up for a fall, and whether that happens or not, Well, only time is going to tell, but my confidence was certainly in the eye.
You've got to keep the speed up and keep it going, otherwise it'll start spinning.
Okay.
Give it a whirl.
We'll see what happens.
Lovely. Keep going.
Oh yeah.
Hang on a minute, was there?
I bowled it. Right, this time we're doing both. I was so excited at getting up the first one.
Yeah. Bit faster.
All right.
Keep looking up. When it started spinning, roll it right off, try and feed it in again.
Try and get it back on.
You'll not get it going by keeping
I still got that flag again.
Nearly. It's because you're chewing front mudguard when you're coming up there.
Sorry?
It's because you're chewing the front mudguard up that first bit.
Am
Look
I?
up.
Well, there you have it. If anyone had told me at the beginning of the day I was going to come up there, I'm not sure what I would have said, but you can guarantee it wouldn't have been very polite. And it was all thanks to this man here. How was it for you, Dougie?
You've done really well. I mean, we started off with the basics. You've obviously done a lot of road racing before, a lot of road biking, but gone very well on your first trials there. Well done.
Thank you very much. I could not have done any of it without you. Now, if you think I'm getting special treatment here, okay, we've got a bit of one-to-one, but anybody else can come and do these on the Dougie Lamkin Action Days. Details at the end of the show. But that's quite enough of my messing around, because now it's time for the 11 times world champion himself to take it away. We'll leave you with that. And that is how it's really done. We'll see you next week.